Hello, Katie. Hello. I can't hear you though. You have to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I
Hello,
can. Hello.
how's it going?
Good. Tell me your story, Katie, and what got you here.
Oh, well, so I've been seeking for quite a long time, probably about 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I started off with Muji, I guess, and I thought that Muji was going to be the one to
Yeah.
awaken me, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was really into Muji for a long time, maybe like 3, 4 years. And I was going to go to some of his retreats and stuff, but for whatever reason, it just never happened. Like things got in the way,
Mm.
and then I got into other people. And then the pandemic happened, and I didn't look at a single video online for the whole pandemic, which is kind of
Oh,
weird considering we were
wow.
stuck at
Yeah, yeah.
home.
That's
Yeah,
when when all of the
yeah,
non-duality,
yeah.
became
For
more
me, it was
prominent.
just like no, I just wasn't interested. I was
Yeah.
just in fact, I was like, stuff getting enlightened. Who cares? I'm just gonna get on with my career and
Yeah.
just like. And then I started going to after the pandemic. I don't know, like a lot of people needed to kind of like get out of the house and stuff because
Yeah.
you'd been like trapped for 2 years or whatever. So I started going to a meeting in London, Tim Clis's meeting,
Okay.
and I
Tim's
met
great.
some people
Yeah.
through there. Yeah, and made a friend who was basically awake.
Yeah.
And so we'd meet up and chat, and then it was kind of all stirred up again, and it all started again, um, and yeah, and I talk to him sometimes on the phone, and I spoke to him recently actually, and he was just like, "It's just this," and I was like, "But it can't just be this
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I've been, what is all of this? What is it all been about if it's just this? But
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, um, I don't know, but I don't feel there's nothing. I don't feel any different or anything, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So here I am.
How did you get to me?
Because the friend that I have, he knows you. I think he did like an interview with you a few years ago. Um,
Oh.
he said to say hi. His name's Darren.
Oh, hey, Darren. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Darren's
yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So he said, "Oh, you should check out Emerson because he's sounding a bit different to how he was a few years ago, and it's really interesting." So
Okay.
I started looking at your videos in the last couple of weeks, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this really is interesting."
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Well, what do you believe right now at this moment?
Well, I guess what comes to mind is it just can't be just this.
Yeah. What are you without that belief?
What am I without that belief?
Yeah, at this moment.
Like nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at it, it's a belief believing a belief.
A belief believing a belief.
Yeah. So what you think is you is a belief believing a belief. Everything
Mm,
that you come out up with is a belief, and it's back down by a belief. Like when you say, I believe that it can't just be this. So who believes that?
mm. Just another belief.
It's just another belief. Yeah. And the mind blanks out because it can't back it up, right? It's just a belief believing. It's like a loop. So what's between belief and a non-belief? What's between this and not this?
It's just nothing.
Yeah. It just all blacks out, right? Blanks out.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So if you can go to the past or the future, then what's missing? Or what's here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just this, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Just this. Silly, huh? It's so simple because the thought keeps on seeking for the next, the
For the
next,
next
the
thing.
next. But what if there's no next? Then it's got to be this.
But it doesn't seem like,
If you can go to the past or the future, then don't have any reference for the future. People are waiting for fireworks or the
yeah,
aha
yeah.
moment. Yeah, no, no.
Mm,
Especially if you're listening to some speakers that have gone through a lot, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Of course, it's going to be a wow for them, right? Or it's going to
yeah,
be, but you've also heard people that have gone do it really gradually.
yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be a cookie cutter idea of what this should be, because this doesn't really have any kind of definition, right? So it could be just this ordinariness. It's just a shift in perception, really, if you look at it. Where are the thoughts?
But then people
Yeah.
talk about like an energy shift, or and you think, well,
That's
that's
all bullshit. Who would know that? You know what I'm saying? Who would? It's. I've had so many people, because, and I'll just say it. I always get in trouble anyway. Who cares? Um, um, they say that it doesn't happen, but there's an energy shift. So which one is it? They'll say that there's a contracted energy. Where's the contracted energy?
yeah, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So it's an energy shift and it's in the next, right?
Oh yeah, it's in the future.
Yeah. It's contradictory. Radical non-duality is full of contradictions, but
So you're
just
just kind of
no one
waiting for
questions it. Yeah, you're waiting for it.
waiting for an
See,
energy shift, waiting for
exactly. Yeah,
something to happen, waiting
that's
for
right. And you just
like a
keep on
boom.
going like a boom. There's no boom. Saying the boom is that there's no boom. It's just this. Because if you and I'll say it and I'll get in trouble again. Because when people do the introductions, like talking about an orgasm, if but they're not even having the orgasm at the moment, what I'm saying? So they're kind of like faking it, you know? It's performative. It's just introductions. It's just words. Who cares? And they make it look like it's so simple, but there's an energetic shift and there's a contracted energy. And it's just a whole bunch of, and I'm gonna say it, it's just a whole bunch of baloney because all words are just basically
Past or future.
yeah, past or future. It's really subtle, isn't it?
It is, but in a way, it's just kind of like I've always known this.
Exactly. And they always say that too. It's always been this way.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
it seems
it
kind of obvious.
it
Like
is
it was too obvious for
too
me to actually
obvious.
get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's like, and again, and I'm gonna say it in this, trouble, but when you go to these meetings, it just perpetuates the seeking.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I did like at the meetings. I don't know, after a few of them, maybe like after a year, you're like, why am I even here? Like, what? I don't.
Exactly. Exactly. It's because there's always a speaker that's got it and you don't have it.
Yeah.
There's always a barrier, right? There's always um a performative no one here. And it's that in that languaging. Every word
It's
has
a
to
bit
have,
like
but
it's the
for no
whole
one.
yeah, it's a bit like the whole fame and the non-famous, but like
Yeah,
why we follow famous people
yeah,
or why we like hold them on such a pedestal.
yeah. But
The
they're
same
just
thing.
they all poop and eat just the same way that everyone does.
Yeah.
The biggest, the most amazing, um, um, you know, it's fanaticism sometimes because when someone proposes, and it's just a suggestion that there's no one here. Again,
Mm,
if you can't find new thought, there is no one here, but there's also a feeling that there's someone here.
mm.
Both,
Yeah.
one is a thought, one is a feeling, both are illusory. The biggest the biggest glimpse that I've had, or the most kind of like wow, when I was
Mm.
like 16 years old and I skipped classes and I went to a Michael Jackson concert.
I loved Michael Jackson too.
When I was a little kid, when I was like 7 or 6, I used to do the moonwalk and try to sing like him. And so, of course, when I'm seeing that, like rows of people were fainting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really attracted that, didn't he? He was kind of
And
like a
then
god.
he would stand in this pose, right? And then
Mm.
he would stand in this pose and would look or point or something. And there's this, this pregnant pause. And of course, everyone's screaming. Then he'll turn another way. He'll put on his glasses. That's like a non-duality speaker in a
Mm,
in a
mm,
massive
mm.
scale.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Or like
yeah.
Muji,
Yeah,
it's just fanatic and like, oh, that's the most energy that I've ever felt, right? In any of the speakers.
right.
So
Mm.
Michael Jackson was my yardstick or my benchmark for because I've gone to I've gone to I'm not going to mention names because I always get in trouble. I've gone to some of these teachers and speakers and I'm like, this doesn't feel like Michael Jackson.
I love how you're comparing it to Michael Jackson. That's brilliant.
Well, you know what? It's just the ordinary, right?
Yeah,
They'll say
yeah,
that
yeah.
there's no one special here, but for no one. It's just languaging.
I had quite a big glimpse when I was younger, when I was like 8 or 9.
Was it Madonna or Michael Jackson?
No, no. um, although I was super into Michael Jackson when I was younger. Like I used to watch everything about him, and I
Me
wanted to be
too.
him. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
just like,
I had a red
yeah,
jacket too.
I had him
That
on my
red letter
wall.
jacket.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Um, I used to watch all the documentaries about him, and yeah. Um, no,
But
this was like an
but
out
just
of body
but just
experience.
like any belief, then you hear about the stuff that he did, then the belief wanes a little bit.
Yeah,
So belief
yeah, yeah,
changes, right? So
yeah. That's
it
true.
becomes a
Yeah,
doubt now. But I still do love his music.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
No, my glimpse was kind of like an out of body experience where I felt like I left my body, and I just felt like I was love, and I was the awareness itself. But it was like love on steroids in a way. It was just like an unimaginable amount of love that
Yeah.
isn't, I don't think, isn't even possible in on this
Yeah.
plane of
Yeah.
living, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Wow.
Yeah, and then when I came back to my body, there was just no one in the body. It just felt completely empty. And then this terror started to come in because I was only 8 and I had no idea what any
Yeah.
of that was about.
Yeah.
And I started to think that maybe I was an alien from outer space and that I'd come down to the planet to like rescue the people or something. I mean, it was just, my mind was just went off on a completely crazy tangent.
Yeah.
But I always had that in the back of my mind as like, because it was that was a wow thing, that was just,
Yeah.
it can't be more wow than that. So I suppose there's been a feeling in the back of my mind, even though I knew it's not really that, because I don't think glimpses aren't really it either, are they? They're just
No.
kind of,
No.
they're
They're
just kind
just
of
kind of like
pointers.
it's kind of like when you're sleeping and you're fast asleep and someone turns on the light and then you wake up a little bit and you go back to sleep. That's what a glimpse is basically.
Mm,
Yeah. So it disrupts your dream a little bit, right? And you're like, what was
yes.
that? Then you go back to dreaming and you're trying to explain you're trying to explain what happened. You're like, there was light and I felt this love and everything.
Mm,
Yeah. Or the way that I say it, that you are the glimpse. The illusion of you is the glimpse. You just glitched out. The dream glitched out.
mm.
Yeah. So what this kind of like this immediacy, this directness right now. It's like sobriety from that dream, sobriety from that words or beliefs.
Yeah, sobriety
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
seeking.
From seeking. Yeah. It ends it basically. It's like a breakup.
But there's still a part of me that's like, it can't just be this,
If you
because
can't,
it's like,
if you,
if I've
yeah,
spent
yeah,
all of this
of course,
time.
yeah, the thoughts will come, you know what I'm saying? But if the thought is trying to go to the next, then it's irrelevant. It's just going to the imaginary again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you can't go to the next because there's no next or to the past, then it must be this. And the thought will be like, there's got to be something more than this, which will try to go to the next.
Mm.
Some people have, there's a video that's coming out, and there's this guy that just went, whoa, because he's been trapped in his thoughts for quite a while. And
Mm.
there's some characters they're just like, okay, you know what? And it's just a gradual falling away. And there's some characters that, again, every character is different.
Mm.
You can't have the same character, it's don't believe someone that claims that an awakening or dropping away should be this way, because that's just their thought.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. All thoughts are illusory. And it becomes a belief, oh yeah, it should be this way and should be that way. Then it becomes gatekeeping. It becomes almost like a cultic group thinking that it has to be this way. And that's why I like showing these videos, show the differences in everyone's, someone's like,
Mm.
meh. If you've noticed it, right? They're like, someone's questioning it, still doubting it. And sometimes the one that's doubting it kind of like, like about a month later, they're like, wow, what is this? And then there's people in the beginning that are just like, there's this lady from Canada, and she's like, I have no thoughts. For me, it was I was stunned. I could not even speak.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was suffering so much, like I've gone through all
Mm.
the seeking, and it was just kind of like a part of it was bittersweet. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. It's just this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
kind
then,
of how I felt when I got off the phone to my friend the other day. It was just like, it can't be this, because if it's this, I just feel like I've just been duped. And what is
yeah,
non-duality? What the hell is all of that
it's
about?
it's just a
Like,
word. It's just a word.
I felt like I'd been part of a cult or something, and
Yeah.
not known that I was part of a cult.
Sorry, Katie. And there's someone on front with flowers and light, what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
yeah, and
Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk.
Michael Jackson, the moonwalk, right? At least you're screaming and you're crying and everything when that's happening. And he can sing really well, Yeah. It's just the same. It's there's no hierarchy. There's no higher or below. There's no above or below, because those are just thoughts. And if you look at it, even every single word is made up.
Mm.
So saying that a thought is just a word. And there's a quietness. It's peaceful, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. It's like the body relaxes. I notice when it clicks, it's like the body just almost like even a centimeter of relaxation, right? It just kind of like the
Mm.
shoulder kind of like goes down a little bit. Yeah. And there's a softness in the eyes, that kind of thing. Not this neurotic, like, I can't find this.
Yeah, all the tension of seeking.
That's right. Yeah.
Just that, oh God. And I've just been doing the Kundalini thing for,
Like Kundalini yoga.
well, it's more cap. So it's like you go and you see a facilitator, and they put on some loud music to like, so that you're not in your senses so much and just listening
Oh,
to
I
the
know. I
music.
know.
And then
Yeah.
they like touch you on your chakra points, and you
Yeah.
start doing all of these weird movements and stuff. And
Sorry, it's making me laugh. Did you start doing the moonwalk?
yeah.
We're
Oh, that's
dressed
really
in
funny.
white. You know what I'm saying? Did you go?
So what are feelings then? Because there's the body as well. Like,
Well, feelings are if you take away the word feeling, what is it? It's just sensations,
it's
isn't
just
it?
a sensation.
Yeah. If you take away the word sensations, what is it then?
It's just another thought happening,
Exactly.
maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're labeling it a sensation.
Exactly. Yeah. And the one that's labeling the sensation is also just a thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just one massive thought stream.
It
Thoughts.
is. Yeah. And if you look at it, there's just really one illusion, right? So it appears as a thought sometimes, a belief, a sensation, a feeling.
Mm.
And if you really look at it, it's just movements. And if you really look at it, if you take away the movements, it's just stillness moving. If you really look at it, it's just really singular. And if you really look at it, what's even singular? It's like the abyss staring at the abyss. If you stare enough, long enough at the abyss, then the abyss stares back, meaning it all just blanks out. What's even fear? What's even death? Just words. Then if you say the word fear, there's sensations that seem to react to it. You know what I'm saying? But there's not even a reaction because that's just a thought. But the bottom line is that in between thoughts and no thoughts, there's this business that you can't name because it's not a thought. It's not a feeling. It's just, yeah, here it is. It's kind of stunning though, right? It's kind of like, what the hell?
It feels kind of ordinary.
It is, yeah. And they always say that too. It's just ordinary.
It's just kind of like what I've always known.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if somebody had just said
It's
10 years
familiar,
ago,
right? It's familiar. Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, you're gonna
It,
say something.
if no, just if somebody said 10 years ago, well, it's just this.
Yeah.
But then I don't know what like.
I even tell some of my friend that wants to get into, I'm like, don't, it's just ordinary. It's not. But some people though, you know what I'm saying? Some people especially that haven't had an anxiety or depression for quite a long time, right?
Mm,
Cry and they're like, oh my goodness, because they've been suffering from that repetitious thinking and they can't get out of
mm,
it. So when that spell breaks, basically, it's like a spell if you look at it, right? Seeking
mm,
is like a
mm,
spell. It
mm.
just broke out of that spell. You're like, what the hell was that all about? What were you even looking for? A thought looking for a
How
thought?
could you even look for this?
No, yeah.
I want it to be something else.
Of course, the thought wants to go to the next, right?
Mm.
That's what it is, yeah. And the thought wants to create, but there's no thought, it's just a thought. Especially people that have been listening to um a period of time, if you're going constantly, it's almost like you've been brainwashed that there's something
Mm.
else.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
also with the radical non message,
Yeah.
you kind of get to the point where you've done everything else, and then I think that's when you get to the radical message.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened to me anyway. He's
Yeah.
like, you've
Yeah.
done everything, and you're like, now it's just like,
Yeah.
and then
And then they keep on talking about the dropping away of the me, or the
yeah,
me, the me, the me, the me, contracted energy, me,
yeah,
that
and
kind
there
of
is no
thing.
you, and then you start
Yeah.
believing that there is no you, which I guess is just another thought,
It's just
a
another
belief.
belief. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get in trouble again. Radical non-duality is nothing but a belief system.
I suppose
Yeah.
it all is.
Everything is a belief system. Yeah. But to call it it's not a belief. It's not, it's a concept. It's still a concept, something that's thought of, because you can't really think of this. If you want to be completely honest and brutal, you can't word it. There's no landing. Where's the
Mm,
landing? That's why it's marketed as awareness, or marketed as nothing being everything, because you can't, if you say I can't say it, then who would listen to you?
mm.
But that becomes belief systems. When you're in the awareness, consciousness thing, it's consciousness. And there was a slow speaking, a lot of pauses in between. And then the opposite, there's this almost kind of like a cockiness to it, that there's no one here for a person, for a me, right? It's you
It all
know,
just seems like bullshit.
it's all bullshit. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I feel disappointed.
Yeah. And I get that with a lot of radical non-duality people, to be honest with you, right? And some of them,
Mm,
luckily, you're some of them the hardest ones, you know what I'm saying, too, because
mm.
they become critical and almost
Yeah,
like,
yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say, I think like you get to the point where you just think it's, I don't know, just, I don't know, you start, if you start taking on the there is no me as a belief, it can really start to mess with your life in a way.
it does. I've you know what, and I've seen people depressed from it.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
I've talked to people that are depressed and suicidal from it, right?
wow.
Yeah.
Because if you think there's no me, you start thinking, but then on the other side of the fence, it's like, well, actually,
It could be freeing at the same time, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But
but also like the people who are saying there is no me, they don't really mean for the like if the person is still believing in the thoughts,
yeah,
then there's no other way to take it other than a belief, is there?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know what? Because I've been doing lots of one-on-ones, and that's what clicked. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be a part of this. It's they were also basically kind of like, they're like, you're not really talking radical non-duality. You're not talking about the message. I thought I was. Because there's clarity here, but I can't seem to put it into words. And
Mm,
the easiest way, I guess, to communicate it, there's just nothing.
mm,
There's nothing. Kind of like right now, there's nothing. But nothing is even saying way too much. So I started kind of like articulating it a little bit, because there's clarity here. I can tap dance and do the moonwalk with this clarity, right? Because it's clear. It doesn't matter. And I don't have to be confined by language or cadence or jargon, or I don't have to parrot that kind of thing, because there's clarity here. So when you start talking authentically, then people are like, you're not talking about, because it's a belief that you have to talk like Tony Parsons.
mm.
So everyone from that, and I can't really fake a British accent. I already have a Filipino accent, so it just sounds really silly. Cheerio. And a bag of chips. I can't do it.
I never thought about that, but they are all British, aren't they?
They are,
The
yeah.
radicals. I wonder if
Yeah.
there's the thing about that, like,
I don't know. It's so funny.
why
Yeah,
is the British being
yeah,
so
yeah,
radical with their non-duality?
yeah.
It's really funny, actually.
It is, yeah. And you know what? And everybody's just doing the best that they can, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Trying
Mm-mm.
to express this, and but it's come to a stall, like, because I was looking
Yeah.
at the people that were seeking, and people have been like there 10 years, 20
Mm.
years. I'm like, what? Or 5 years, should not be longer than 1 year, right? If it's so simple, why are people there
Yeah.
for such a long time? And if you've gone to those meetings, saying it's almost like a rare kind of like a rare occurrence, like like it's like a lottery system for someone to click.
It feels like that. And
And then you're
also,
waiting for the blessing of the speaker to give the energy to you. Can you give me your energy? It's like the same thing as Michael Jackson throwing his hat and someone catching it.
mm,
That's how rare it is. Yeah.
and that's the other thing that you hear as well in the whole waking up stuff. It's like, well, there's so few people who have actually woken up. It's a bit
Yeah.
like becoming a millionaire or something. It's
It
just like,
is. It is.
it has
And
the same rarity, or perhaps even more rarity than
yeah,
becoming a millionaire. Maybe you've got more of a chance of becoming a
you have
millionaire than
more
you do
more
waking
chance to
up.
become a millionaire. Yeah.
Yeah.
It become the penultimate, ultimate kind of like,
Yeah.
accomplishment or something. But for
And then I
no
suppose
one.
that becomes a belief.
But for no one. But for no one. You can keep on adding the for no one, for no one. So people think that I have to be no one to get it.
Mm,
Yeah, and it's so funny because people keep on saying that it's the last stop, that last house and everything. But why is the house so crowded? why, why can't someone get out of that last house now, right? And then people say, well, this is the most effective thing. It's just all talk recently. I'm sure, surely, I'm saying, if it's so simple, you can show it.
mm,
And I think what happened is stagnation is that they don't want to get out of that languaging, because I believe that some of them have that clarity, but it's almost becomes performative now when you're speaking about it.
I think that's really true, actually, and I think also people get stuck. Like, however they woke up. So if they woke up through radical non-duality,
Yeah.
then that tends to be the one that they're all going to start talking about. If
Yeah.
if they woke up by
With awareness.
yeah,
Yeah.
then they're going to teach that, and then it just
Yeah.
becomes
I have people that just doing now what I'm doing, the people that I did one-on-ones to in the past, and they're doing the same thing that I'm doing, but they don't copy my language.
mm,
Yeah. It is the same thing. You'll notice it, with people, for example, in the Muji camp, there's a lot more softer in speaking.
and there's a spiritual element, I think, with
It's
the
a very
Muji.
spiritual element. Yeah.
There's a God element in that,
There's a,
and when I
there's love and light, and there's doom and gloom.
yeah.
And but there's also a lot of brilliant characters, like on for example, on social media, that are really clear, right? Really, really clear,
Mm,
but don't adhere to any of those stuff, right? So
mm,
so it doesn't have to be one way. There's no one way. There's no ending to this, to be honest, because it makes it look like that's the ultimate or the absolute. That's a belief.
mm.
If there's the infinite just keeps on going. Like I still get, I don't know, I'm still in awe of the tree this morning when I was walking, right? That kind of stuff, right? And there's a lot of laughter and crying as well. It doesn't have to stop into this rigid communication. If you notice, like, there's a lot of speakers that come in and out, right? And they change their message because it's not the final stop. Because the final stop is just a landing. So what's being presented here is just sobriety from beginnings and endings. A breakup with non-duality, basically. So you can start going to real dances rather than doing the Kundalini weird stuff. You know what I'm saying? Unless you really like that one, but if you really like it, then still go. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it, right? So if you still like going to meetings, still go. I'm saying that nothing wrong with it.
Actually, I
But
haven't been to a meeting for ages now.
oh, you
Just
haven't. Okay.
no. But then that being said, I don't think it's been doing meetings, so I don't know. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
it could be either
Yeah.
way. I don't know. But I mean, there has been less seeking for, like, there used to be a feeling of like watching the videos and you're trying to get some kind of answer from the video, you're trying to
Mm,
get something, and then that kind of, then I just started watching more because it was like there's more of an enjoyment in just watching rather than
yeah.
trying to find something.
But guess what you're doing now? You're doing practice.
Yeah, but I think maybe recently, like what we were just saying, it's like, well, what the hell is non-duality anyway? And
Yeah. It's funny. Someone keeps on sending me posts about me now because they're kind of like, what is he doing? One token, one thing is like he's talking about it's more advaita, it's more about the self or the presence. I don't talk about that, so and they're like, but he's not really talking about non-duality. So which one is it? You know what I'm saying? I don't like his laughter. He laughs too much. I'm like, should I be frowning all the time and yelling at people?
yeah, it's
It
funny
doesn't
actually.
bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm at peace.
There are
Yeah.
some people who talk about it as like something really, like you've got to go through all this pain and you've got to go through all the,
I know.
and
You,
like,
yeah,
and
you
sometimes I
gotta
just
go,
think,
you gotta go to the check marks and everything, right? Like the
yeah,
the prerequisites. Have you suffered enough, Katie?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
probably not.
Have you
I'm
had
sure there's
a
more.
bone, shaking experience of suffering, that kind of thing? I'm like, it's kind of funny because that's what they were saying, that I didn't have that and everything. But then you know what? Because I just don't talk about it, but I did suffer immensely. But
Mm,
that's not a prerequisite, right? I was like crying and all that kind of stuff. But I've also seen clear characters that have not gone through that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
And it's all a story anyway. Who cares, right? It's just all narrative. And it doesn't have to be one way. What radical or awareness is proposing, that they're the right way. They're the only way. Although they
mm,
won't say that, but the way that they talk about it,
yeah,
the way that they put down others, you know what I'm saying? The way
yeah,
that
yeah.
they're putting me down now, you know what I'm saying? It's like they've been looking for this. Here it is, proof, you know what I'm saying? Of people just kind of like, you know, and now they're saying now that it doesn't happen to anyone. This is
And
not supposed to
that's,
happen. Yeah, it's gatekeeping. So which one is it? It's so full of contradictions.
mm,
It's time to call the bullshit out, right?
and that's kind
And
of
let's
what
just all
religion
be
does.
happy. What's that?
That's kind of what religion does. Like, our
It
God's better than your
is.
God. Our God is the real God. Your God's the fake God.
It is, yeah.
It's just the same thing, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And then there, you know what? And I appreciate teachers and speakers because everyone's just trying to express and everything, but putting down, oh, they're teachers. The most kind of like when I became more caring and more compassionate and kind, someone would yell at me, "You're a teacher," as if there's something wrong with it. Again, they're making something wrong or right about it because from one side
Mm,
there's no one to teach, but that's still a teaching. If you look at it,
mm.
this is not a teaching; it's a teaching. This is not a belief; it's a belief. There's no one here to believe is a belief. It all stems down to belief. So what I try to do or attempt to do is try to get you out of that duality basically and come into, because everybody talks about the unknowable. Here it is. Show, don't tell. It's just all talk, 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 talk. I don't have, regular meetings. Um, I don't care, you know what I'm saying, about followers. I got out of hell and I just want to get people to show them there's a way out of hell of believing. You're in a mild case, you're not like, I have people that are kind of like, I want to stop. You'll see it. People are kind of like tired in some of the,
I think I've been there, to be honest with you.
you have been.
Yeah, I mean, it's come and go. Like, I've been at points where I'm just crying, where I'm just like, maybe I'll just never wake up. Maybe it's just never going to happen. Like that real kind of desperation of like wanting it to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but but I haven't been in it in. I've been in it in little pieces, bits and pieces, not in like a kind of continual chunk, if that makes sense. It's kind of
Yeah,
something that kind of comes in and out.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I get
The frustration. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that kind of real
And yeah,
need.
and you know what? And when I was a speaker, I didn't really care what people thought about me. I just really wanted the people that are coming to see through that delusion of separation, right?
Mm,
And if I was being complicit, if I was becoming kind of like a gatekeeper, I was like, oh no, I'm doing the same thing again that I did in spirituality, right? So I can like backed out a little bit and went back to work in a corporate thing. Really, really briefly, I got fired, so I had to. I had no
what did
choice
you
but to.
do in the corporate world?
I'm in communications, so I was like
Okay.
liaison and everything. But my brain was, because I've been doing the speaking for quite a while, so my brain was not functioning properly, meaning I didn't have a good memory. And for example, I'll be
Mm,
talking right now, should be documenting everything. And after like a couple of weeks of training, they spend so much time training me, I would forget a whole bunch of everything that I'm supposed to do to be able to be to fulfill my job. So what I did is I hired a virtual assistant from the Philippines to help me, and then gave that person an AnyDesk access to my computer. Basically, it alerted the security from the company, and they're like, why did you give access to someone? I'm like, oh, I don't have a good memory. So I hired a virtual assistant to help me out with this job. And it was a well paying, it was like 200K a year, right? So it's a well
wow.
paying job. So I could afford to, I'm not really fancy, like I'm a very simple guy. So I can afford to help some, like, oh, I'll help someone from the Philippines. I'm Filipino,
Mm.
to kind of like, get a portion of my income. But yeah, I got caught right away because I'm not supposed to. So I kind of like did my transparency thing, that yeah, after speaking for about a year, um, there were times that I just didn't have any income, because
Mm,
I was not I was not part of the boys club yet, kind of thing, in the
mm,
radical
mm,
community. So people just didn't pay attention, or didn't do. I would have a 3 day, 4 day online event, because there was a lot of passion, there's a lot of coming out, there was a lot of clarity, and I would have one or two or three people paying. So I'd like make like $150 for the whole 3 days. But I still loved it. You know what I'm saying? Because I just
yeah.
let everybody in. And then the new gossip came around me being kind of like, he's doing it for the money. I'm like, what money?
I think
What
when you do
money?
something you love, it's always
Yeah.
like it's not really for the money, is it, in the beginning? And
No,
then
no,
I think
no.
money eventually comes somewhere down the
Yeah,
line.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
takes time, doesn't it,
Right
to
now
kind
it's
of
sustainable. I can be a full-time
great.
speaker. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
at the
good.
same time, I still give a lot of freebies away. If somebody writes
Mm,
me and they're like, I'm broke right now, I'm going through some stuff, I'm like, yeah, just do it. It's okay. Right?
mm,
Because you do it for the love. You don't do it for the money, kind of thing. Because if I was doing it for the money, I'll be traveling all around and, making kind of like a concert tour like Michael Jackson, and waiting for people to kind of like faint in front of me, going, hoo. Yeah, and there's also an introverted character here that just loves. I love this one-on-ones. It's, or
mm.
the Zooms, right? So, I've been semi micro famous before as a spiritual teacher, and I hated it so
Okay.
much. Yeah, so I'm
Mm.
not for the adoration or sitting in a chair with flowers. Um, and then one time I went to a place and they had flowers, and I'm like, and they were like, someone said, I don't think he likes this. I love flowers, but I don't want it for me. I don't want it to make it look like that I'm a someone special or whatever.
Yeah, I heard once with the Muji thing that people wanted to like kiss his feet and stuff, and I don't think actually he was up for it really, but then he decided that he was going to allow people to do that because they wanted to do it, and then it became a thing. But I don't know if that's just what people say or
Yeah,
you know.
I don't know. To each his own. You know what I'm saying? I don't like
Mm.
my feet getting kissed. You know what I'm saying? Especially you can like you're always going to be conscious now of like you're You gotta
Yeah,
have
exactly. Make
you gotta
sure
have
all
a
your toenails are
pedicure.
trimmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too much work.
Too much work. Yeah. I use socks. You know what I'm saying? I don't expose my feet anymore in meetings, just in case that it happened to me, and I was just like, no. And that's what made me reevaluate when I was a spiritual teacher, and and took me to a downward spiral because someone kissed my feet.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's the
Was
same
that
thing with,
before you were awake, or?
well, there was an initial kind of like, awakening, like a Kundalini awakening or whatever they might want to call it,
Okay.
where I was loving everyone and everyone was God and that kind of stuff, right? So,
Mm.
but I lost it because whatever begins ends.
Mm.
So if you can't go to the next, you can go to the past. There's no beginning and ending. The thoughts are like bookends, right? The belief are like bookends, right? So if you think that this is not this, then you'll believe it, and then you go into spiral of seeking again. But there's already a seeing here. You've already seen the joke, basically, right? The thoughts are all illusory. Even the word
Yeah.
illusory is just a thought.
Yeah, but I still feel like I don't know.
What are you without the what do you doubt without that feeling? If you unpeel the word feeling, what is it then?
Mm.
If you can go to the next or the future, what is it? And again, it's some people it's gradual. Some people it's very subtle. It doesn't have to be a big bang. But you know what? You've just been brainwashed to think that it's something that is completely mind blowing. What's between a belief and a doubt? There
Like
you go.
nothing.
Yeah. So basically, everything that you think or feel is nothing. It's irrelevant, really. The mind doesn't like that because it makes it completely irrelevant. The intelligence doesn't like that because it makes it irrelevant. Yeah. It's like basically being back into that when you're a baby, you're just opening your eyes, everything is kind of like fresh and new.
Mm.
Yeah. The thoughts are like you see that the thoughts are like viral. It's like a virus now. It's like a narrative of something that you can't put a finger on. And that's what the thoughts do. They're kind of like an app. It's kind of like having a phone, I'm saying, or a computer that goes back into the factory setting. It's not cluttered with so much memory or or virus and that kind of stuff.
I like that description. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of apps like thoughts, beliefs, feelings, experiences, and the pop-up blocker is that what's in between those. It just creates opposite, right?
Mm.
It almost pops those out, right? But some computers are very um clogged. The hard drive is kind of like, it's been through a lot of thinking. you know you can't change the hard drive, but you can see that it's gradually clearing up. But it's back to a factory setting. There are some people that are one shot. There's some people that I would recommend, if you're interested, to book another one to clear up. It will clear
Okay.
up. Yeah. Like try to book like
I've,
Monday or Tuesday,
okay.
because it will be, and we'll laugh about it, right? Because sometimes what happens, and this is two ways, right? There's kind of like one time it's kind of like, oh my goodness, wow. Or it could be like a coup d'etat of the mind saying that, oh, this is not it and everything. And you're trapped in thinking. But either or, it clears up. it could be like, whoa, euphoric, like you're like, looking at trees and stuff like that. But I would suggest, I don't know what time it is. Are you in UK, Katie?
Yeah, I'm in London.
Walk around,
Mm.
look at the trees, look at, go for a run or something.
I mean, I've always been someone who's like loves nature. Just that's
Yeah.
just like kind of my nature anyway. And also, I've been the kind of person who's felt like a bit of an outsider. But the only place I felt like I really belonged was in nature, if that makes sense. Which
Same here, to
so
be honest. I
is
avoided,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've always been, I'm the kind of person that buried myself in books when I was a kid, right?
Mm,
And I would be really introverted, but I learned how to be extroverted. This is learned
mm.
the way that I act and everything, right? The way that
I feel the same. I was
yeah,
super introverted
yeah,
as a teenager. Like I
yeah,
couldn't make friends, found it really difficult to connect to
yeah,
people. And somehow, actually, I don't know, like I didn't even try, but I've become more extroverted as I've gotten older. But like literally, I didn't do anything
yeah, yeah,
to do that. It just kind of naturally happened that way. And
yeah.
I still find it hard to make friends given certain circumstances. Like if there's a massive group of people, I just find it so intimidating. But if there's just like, I'm better on like a one-to-one situation with people.
Me, my max is five. Usually five, I'm okay. Like if I'm with,
Mm,
I'm the eldest of three boys and one girl, so we're five.
okay.
So the group of five is perfect for me because that's what I'm used to, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Outside of that, it's kind of like, it's even, what now, I did a meeting of 100 people showed up at one of my 5-day events,
Wow.
and I
That's
was
a lot
like,
of
oh
people.
shit. But you
Yeah.
know what? It was okay because I was talking about this. I just go into the
Mm,
zone, right? And what I
mm-hmm.
did was in between my talks, I did one-on-ones, right? In between, because there's a lot of
Mm.
people that probably was their only chance to go to a retreat because someone sponsored them. One person got
Ah.
out of a kind of like a cultish, like, like non-duality group. And
Mm.
he was about to give his inheritance to that
Wow.
to that speaker or teacher, and he was trying to give me some. I'm like, no, just you're just doing the same thing that you're doing. You're making me your new guru now or whatever. I'm like, why don't you sponsor, get people out of that group? And they did. And at the end of it, I don't like doing those kind of things because it just perpetuates that there's always a next, right? Maybe next.
Mm.
And I just did my earnest, like talk to everybody, did this kind of one-on-one, what's in between, what's the thought and everything. And at the end of it, I DJ'd for them. And I thought that there will be some people that would still be needing. No, it was all done in 5 days.
Really?
Well, if I can do this in 2 minutes, you know what I'm saying? Imagine 5 days.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Because I'm just really blunt and just really, if you've been to hell, you know how you got out of hell. It's not passed on knowledge for me. It's not something that I learned, right? This was direct for me. It's
Mm.
not it's not like I use somebody's map on how to get out, basically, or someone's concept or ideas,
So
right?
how did it happen for you? Like,
I just got sick and tired of seeking, to be honest. I was just getting
so you just
depressed
totally burned out
and
with
then
the
burned
seeking.
out. I was almost like I was in despair. I was just desperate, right? So I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Um, and then at that time, you know what? If I didn't stop seeking, I would just be homeless and I didn't have any more
Mm.
money. It ruined me completely, right? So I was in hell.
Wow.
And then
Mm.
after a couple of weeks, like every time, and then I was just focusing on how to be a better DJ because I'm like, okay, I can't even teach meditation anymore. I can't do this anymore. I'm done with spirituality. I can't seem to get enlightened. Or I was like, basically, I was hitting my head on the wall and I was getting
Mm.
depressed and have panic attacks from anxiety because I'm always thinking of the next.
Mm.
Maybe this time the me will drop away. So I was chasing a nightmare basically. And after 2 weeks, I was just DJing, and then everything just kind of like what happened here, just like I'll be damned. And it's been 6, 7 years, I think, I can't remember, of clarity, but I didn't know how to express it.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
because I thought it would muddy the water, the clear water. Yeah. But I do know how to get out. You know what I'm saying? I do know how I went out when I was just in between thoughts, in between beliefs.
Mm.
I didn't even know how to word it like that, but it just went into like, yeah, that opening, that clarity. And then that happens to us every morning when we wake up, but the thoughts take over right away. You notice it?
Definitely. And also other times, like I find it when I'm in nature
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
it just
yeah.
seems so like
Alive.
obvious. Yeah, so
Yeah.
alive, so like and recently I've been having moments where I'm almost crying because it's just so like
Yeah.
the trees, the sky, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
but then it doesn't, but then it's like, well, that was nice. And then all the, and then you might have all the thoughts back coming in
Yeah.
and, and,
The
and
thoughts
it
are
feels a
all
bit like a
it
glimpse again.
yeah, well, it's just irrelevant. There's a permanence to this if you don't think of it. Again, again, it's kind of like in this quietness, it's almost like a hum, like a quietness, like an
Mm.
ear ringing.
You know what? It's a bit like, so
Tinnitus.
I'm like a singer,
Yeah. Oh,
but
you're a singer.
you know, when, at the end of a record, when
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing playing,
Yeah.
but there's just this kind of sound, at the end. It's kind of like
It's like a white
analog
noise.
sound.
Analog,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, analog sound.
That's
It's
it.
kind of like that. It's kind of like analog sound.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I like that because you know what? Thinking is like digital ones and zeros. In between that, there's the analog.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
simulation, right?
Yeah.
Ones and zeros, ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Digital and the analog is always is permanent.
Mm.
Yeah. Someone actually that I talked to a year ago gave me the best gift ever. A really good record player. And I cried and cried because that was my first toy when I was a kid. And I
Mm.
lost everything. So any little things I appreciate greatly, right? Because
Mm.
when you've lost everything, you're grateful for the smallest thing, like, but and that was a grand gesture of thanks, basically. This
Mm.
record, yeah. And I was just like, oh. And I love
Things
the
like that
analog
is,
sound.
me
Yeah.
too.
Because
Yeah,
that's what I
things like
was
that are
used to.
special.
What's that?
Mm. Things like that are special when somebody gives
So
you
special.
a
Yeah.
gift like that. It's really
Yeah.
thoughtful.
Yeah. So thoughtful. I almost give it back because I'm like, oh, it's okay. You know what? You can return this, and this is a lot of money, that kind of thing. He goes, take it, take it. I'm like, okay, okay. Not coming from unworthiness, but I was just like, this is just a lot of money. It's okay. You know what? I didn't really do much. I just talked to you. I'm going to stop the recording and
Okay.